hosting a VVVVIP, actually the wife of the Prime Minister of Malaysia, and it is supposed to be a program to do with poor children in certain places. And to cut the long story short, we are supposed to hand over to her envelopes because she's supposed to give away token, financial assistance to people. And the moment the MC said, "Okay, Dean, please invite the wife of the Prime Minister to pass over whatever that is supposed to be passed over," and it's not there. Can you imagine how embarrassed you are? Check every detail. Check every detail. No matter what kind of delegation technique that you use, eventually you must own the project, you must be responsible. It's not about embarrassment only, it's about failure to deliver at that moment when it is, when it counts the most.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, moving to our next question. What do you do to get re-inspired after you've been up working all night on a project? You're tired, you're grumpy, you just really don't want to be working on it anymore, but you know you have to drive it over the finish line. And if you would like to demonstrate, you may do so.
You want me to dance? So one of the things that inspire, especially if you're an NGO, you start out basically working, with a small group of friends, and your strategy works, and you're improving people's lives. But one of the things that sometimes happens is your movement starts becoming too successful right away, and you start working in the office more often than you want. So you're trying to raise funds, you're trying to organize people. What is what starts to eat into you and it exhausts you is the fact that you're not connected to people. When you're helping people, one of the things that will re-inspire you is to go back to your roots and work with people more often. And sometimes that might happen to you, which is you're an activist, you work on the ground, and suddenly you're thrust into a management or leadership role where when you want to help more people, sometimes you get into this thing about managing funds and managing management, and you forget that it's not all about awareness, and sometimes that's a big problem that happens. You fall into the fact that you're lecturing, you're attending speeches and conventions, and sometimes you forget why you started the whole thing in the first place, which is it's about the people that you serve. And so to re-energize myself, what I do is I go back and I try working with people, and I get sometimes managers to manage because they're good managers, and the people that are visionaries should work with people. The second thing, very quickly, is the fact that sometimes your program, you come there, you study in this good in these good universities, and you teach people, and keep them teaching people. I come from an innovation background, and sometimes I bring inventions to the community. What I learned is sometimes the humility that innovations are actually about the community, and they'll actually innovate it with you. And so later on you'll find out the best kind of innovations and the ones that last, and the ones that they use are the things that are modified by the community because it works for them, not because you have this brilliant sketch or brilliant idea that works in the laboratory. So those are the two things: to work with the community to better your invention, and to work with the community because in the end you are part of the cause is all about the people. That's it.
Great advice.
Yes. Can I go back a little bit to the second question as well?
Sure.
All right. I just wanted to share with you, I'm Youth Plus. So we have a little bit more experience in terms of chronological years. We talk a lot about leadership, but I'm just sharing with you what I learned the hard way. That sometimes you cannot be a leader all the time. You have to, as a leader, also learn how to be a follower. And I think that's very critical. Because if everybody strives to be a leader all the time, there will be trouble. And I've seen that happen. When you put together a group of youth from various cultural backgrounds, from different ASEAN countries, in a leadership program. Maybe 3 days you may not see that happening, but you put them together for 3 weeks, and they all strive, and they all want to be the ones to move forward, it can lead to progress. So there are times when you have to take the step back and be the follower as well. And I'd like to pick up on what you said. I come from a university, and I continuously remind the academics and the students that you are not the sole custodians of knowledge. Just because you're clever, when you work with the communities, that doesn't mean that you don't have as much to learn from them as they have to gain from you. That it's an engagement which is underpinned by knowledge exchange continuously. It's not even knowledge transfer. I just wanted to share.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Okay, moving right along. So in sort of picking up what you were talking about, what advice do you have, especially in a 3-day period, for this cross-cultural communication, and how do we communicate across borders, and what are some very important things to keep in mind as we're collaborating across the entire ASEAN region?
There are 2 things. Number one, we have to be aware of the differences that we have, but please don't make so much, don't think too much about it. I'm always not very, I don't really like sometimes people talk about cultural relativity to the extent that you don't do anything. Second thing, I think as young leaders, we just have to be bold and brave, think of something that is doable, that is workable, that is practical, and then you, of course, you have to be systematic in your thinking, and then you just have to do it. The Malaysian way of saying it in my language will be belasa aja. Belasa aja, which actually means just do it, lah. Yeah. Take risks, because that's what life is all about. Take risks. Don't be too careful about it. Don't become an old man or woman before you reach that age. So just do it. Belasa aja.
Anybody else?
But one of the most powerful things is, in this kind of talks, are the fact that sometimes you sit next to people that of your same culture and language, but really the powerful way forward in solving, life, the world's most persistent problems are crowdsourcing. Sometimes you don't know who has the brilliant idea that conflicts with yours. It's not all engineers, but engineers with biology, with architecture. One of the things that we do a lot, which we never did before a couple of years ago, was I have a laboratory where I'm in a white coat and I test stuff, and I got so much integrated in the system. But really, when I learned about putting together your ideas out there and throwing it out there and sharing it with people, it becomes refined, and people will help you. But the most important one is people might also copy you. And this has turned out to be something where you're so protected into something that you learn will change many people's lives. So that's it. Crowdsourcing for ideas and not crowdsourcing for funding, believe it or not. And another thing also is the fact that you as an activist and sometimes an organizer, you used to fight village by village by village, but with the internet, you're able to transcend all boundaries, especially if you have innovations that can be copied by other youth and empowers other youth. So you can come up with, change will not happen with you, but if you can create an army of people that are with the same skill level or even better than you. So that's one of the things that we learned with the new age of computers and internet, and equally educated and empowered people.
Wonderful. One thing before you go. So after, we're going to open this up to the audience for Q&A. So as Dr. Saran gives her next response, then we're going to open it up.
I'll just say a little bit, because you talked about the 3 A's and what is it. I'm not sure exactly how the modality is going to run, because I think the opportunity that this group will be given will be that you will be able to work on projects which is transboundary, right? And you know, you will have a honeymoon period where you'll be really excited that you've got this project and this opportunity to work on it. Then slowly that honeymoon will fade. And then the reality sinks in, because you will go back and you will have so many other priorities. Then you have to remind yourself, think of Sarah's face, think of Dash's face, all right? Think of USAID or US Embassy people who are supporting you. And then remind yourself, dig deep and remind yourself of the responsibilities that you have. And you will have different personalities and characters working together. And some of them might irritate you after the honeymoon period. They may not be able to, you know, follow the timelines and the deadlines that have been set. So what do? You cannot afford to give up. Dig deep. You've got certain basic values. I think they should sign a contract before they leave. Right? So that, you know, you make sure you've signed a contract and you make sure it happens. And we wish you all, I wish you, and I'm sure the rest too, wish you all the very best, because you are the future and you have to make it happen. And we want to see the success.
Thank you, Dr. Tony. Okay, so now is your chance. It looks like we have a microphone over here and just here. So, now's your chance in this learning knowledge exchange that she mentioned for you to ask questions to our panelists. So yes, right here in the front. If you can walk over to this microphone here. And you can go ahead and start a line behind the microphone so that we can just ask questions one after the other.
I have one little question to any of the panelists. Could you share like a story of the time when you almost give up because of there's so many failures and so many challenges that you almost give up? Maybe share a story. Thank you.
Great question. Okay. Sorry, yep. Go ahead. We're going to ask 3 questions and then you can answer as many of them as you want.
My question is about the panel. The speaker before said about this project was for the ASEAN, and then you guys is trying to working with the youth. And then my question is, do you guys have any program before that involving the youth? And then can you share about the output of this project before this, like a report, how the progress about the project in ASEAN with the youth?
Okay. Great. Thank you. And one more question.
Great. Thank you. It's a very nice example about the honeymoon. So, exactly my question about how is your program to engage about ASEAN economic community and also the volunteer, because I just know that your program have like the volunteer program in ASEAN, but I never know about Indonesia before. Yes, for the program for the next 2015. Thank you.
Okay. Great question. All right. We'll do one more since you're the only one standing, and then we'll open it up to you all.
Hi, I'm Yinsin from Malaysia. My question is actually directed to everybody else except maybe the Cambodian speaker, because she's the youngest, so I'll spare her from that. Most of the time when we start an NGO or a civil society organization, we have a cause that we want to fight for. And many times it is also very easy for political parties and politicians to come into the sphere and then make that cause their own. How then can we become the steward of our own NGO and not deviate our original cause and make it into a political agenda and eventually we ourselves turn into politicians? Thank you.
Great question. All right, so feel free to pick up any. So
I'll answer the first one because then letting it into the political one, that's a tough one. So one of the things that I've learned is, I know what my rate of failure rate is. I know that 1 out of every 6 innovations or 6 laboratory tests would actually be successful. And so when I was in school, I would know that, every sixth one is going to work, or mostly the sixth innovation or the sixth change or alteration or improvement is going to work. And that sort of helped me later on in life when I was applying for a job or I was trying new projects, is because I would not give up, because I knew that the first, second, third, and fourth, and fifth time, I would not be successful. I'm just maybe a slow starter. I just cannot come up with the brilliant ideas right away. But on the sixth one, it seems to work. And so in life and in jobs, and also in applying for graduate school, I would get it, especially if you're applying for scholarship. It took me 3 or 4 years to get my scholarship. It took me 5 times before I got hired. And so one of the most important things to realize is that the world is not there for you. You know how you believe that, once you step in, you will be praised and you will get the job. It just doesn't work that way. So even in innovation, it sort of gave me the hard knocks of life that sometimes you have a failure rate, and not to give up before you actually get to be successful. And anybody who's ever successful is lying to say that he got it on the first try, except Facebook, which seems to
For me, there was a time that I started my first project and I didn't know what to do. I was almost 19 and it was really, really hard at that time. Even the school system did not support. I just wanted to workshop to share experience with the other youth, and they don't even allow because they're afraid that we would talk about politics or anything bad. So it's like we are trying our best to help, and then they don't even want to let us do it. So it was really hard, and then I think I was trying to think of some role model that I really admire. For example, maybe Aung San Suu Kyi or Nelson Mandela. They even go to jail just to pursue what they want to do. So I just go through very small hill, and I think it's hard. How about compared to them that they have climbed so many mountains in order to get to the destinations? So that's what encouraged me to keep going on, even it's really, really hard.
Okay, I'm going to share a very personal story. Do you know what ethnicity I am? Ethnicity. Nationality, I'm Malaysian. But what ethnicity I am? Punjabi. Yeah, that must be a Malaysian. Not fair. Yeah. I'm Punjabi Sikh. I'm a real minority when you talk in terms of demographic population. You will know. When I finished the equivalent of the A levels, I was really playful. I used to play a lot of hockey. So I never used to concentrate very much on my studies when I was in school. Until, the headmistress called my mother up one day and she said, you better tell your daughter to play less hockey and concentrate more on her studies. So I didn't really make it to university the first round. They had to have a demonstration in the university of all the Indian students who were there to ensure that that the quota for Indian students increased. That was how I got into university. I came in the second batch. All right? Did I ever imagine that one day in my life I would be appointed Deputy Vice Chancellor of the National University of Malaysia? In my wildest dreams, no. It took, life is made up of challenges all the time. But that's what you do. You face them. And who was it who said, was it Richard Stengel? Who said that a challenge is an opportunity for you to develop yourself and overcome. And that's what you do continuously. And now he's left. I didn't realize he was the one who wrote Nelson Mandela's book. And I so much wanted to take a photograph with him. But you didn't allow me to do that. And now he's gone. So I'll have to photo shoot it. But anyway, that's life. It's all a matter of how you put your mind to it and how you work on it. And the power of prayer. I think coming from the ASEAN region, That's a very strong power that we have, and that helps you continuously.
There have been quite a number of youth programs organized either by the ASEAN Secretariat or by individual member states of ASEAN for ASEAN young people. But the problem is sustainability. The most popular ASEAN youth program that has been organized for I don't know how many years, 20, 30 years, is the Nippon Maru ASEAN Youth Ship Program, but that's not made in ASEAN, it's made in Japan. No, I'm not anti any other country outside ASEAN, but the point I'm trying to make is it is about time that ASEAN young people empower ourselves to organize a program that is only ASEAN and made in ASEAN. One of the problems why most of the programs in the past did not last more than a couple of years was because people were too ambitious. They want to do everything, like every 10 states must participate. And I think one of the strengths of YSEALI is that the programs that we are supposed to come out with on Monday is not that very ambitious that it must cover 10 countries. We know it's not easy. So targeting 2 or 3 countries is more practical, and I think it's going to be more, chances it's going to be more sustainable. On politics, I think it is important that young people position ourselves with original ideas, even if it is not original, with some innovation, but remain steadfastly independent and non-partisan. I know sometimes politicians, there are no politicians up here, right? No, not me. I'm on sabbatical, so I'm okay. Politicians would love to see good projects, they might hijack. Yeah? But you have to be steadfast, remain independent, and remain non-partisan. And I think after some time they will respect you and they will take you as what you are.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for your attention. Please give our panelists a big round of applause. And we'll turn it back over to our esteemed MC, who is going to get on with the rest of our program.
Thank you, Sarah, and to the esteemed panelists. Once again. And as we approach the end of the evening, we are pleased to serve dessert. The staff needs to hear that. We're going to serve dessert and a coffee and tea, while we have another performance from Indonesia. And this is Miss Rokmawati, and she's going to be doing a familiar number to all, I'm sure. So dessert will be served, and I would like to call upon Miss Rokmawati from Indonesia.
Good evening. How are you guys doing? Great. Yeah, for tonight, I'm going to sing a song which is very familiar. This is One Moment in Time by Whitney Houston. Now, why do I sing this song? Because I thought that just give us one chance and we're going to change the world.
them chili curries. And these tiny little chilies that are very spicy, very hot. Anyway, we hope that you've been inspired by the thoughts shared by the leaders this evening and are ready to become the next generation of young leaders who will shape ASEAN in the coming years. Thank you all for coming once again. Later on, I'd just like to invite each group together with their mentors to go out to the wall there to have your photo taken. You're dressed very beautifully. So we go ahead and do that a little later. And so the night is still young, part of the fun, so do stay on and get to know each other. And on behalf of the U.S. Department of State and South Malaysia.org, we wish you a pleasant evening and workshop. Good night.